Hi, I'm Amy, and thank you for joining me for a hip opening, stretching, and releasing flow today. It'll be a full-length class, and through the class we'll use a bolster, 2 blocks, and if you have pillows instead of a bolster, you can use those. You can also use a pillow under your hips if your hips are tight for seated Sukhasana. Or you can also use couch cushions in place of a bolster. And if you have blocks, that will help later on. But if not, you can totally still do the practice without the props. We'll start out sitting on our blocks in a kneeling position. In thunderbolt pose, supported by our blocks to take some of the pressure off of the knees. You can also use a blanket under the knees for a little extra support. We'll begin breathing here, slowing down our breath, tuning into our bodies, and creating balance between our inhale and exhale. With our hands on our thighs, we can start a cat-cow in this kneeling position. So inhaling to arch and exhaling to round, flowing with your own breath on your own timing. Just getting some nice warming up through the spine. When you inhale and arch, just trying to relax the forehead and the face muscles. Then coming back to neutral, sitting up nice and tall. We'll take the arms out to the sides, inhaling them around and up, palms to touch. And inverting the hands, clasping them and stretching up and then over to one side. Getting a nice side stretch here and then lifting back up. And then we'll stretch to the other side. Not going too far, but just to the point of awareness. And then our arms will float back, around, and down to the small of our back, and we'll open, bringing the elbows together and arching, and then coming back to center. Bring the arms back down, hands by the sides, and lifting them back, around, up, clasping, and reaching the palms to the sky. We'll stretch again to one side, getting a nice side stretch. Lifting back up, we'll stretch again to the other side. And coming back up, we'll release the hands back, around, and down. On this second time, as you take the arms down and around, we might clasp the hands behind us and open up through the chest and the upper back, and then release, coming back to center, releasing the hands back onto the thighs. We can now take the blocks out from underneath us and sit to the side of our heels, bringing ourselves into Dandasana, staff pose with the legs out straight in front, feet flexed as much as is comfortable for you, and sitting up nice and tall, lifting the arms up, and we'll come into a gentle twist to one side, breathing, inhaling to lift, exhaling to twist. And we'll lift the arms back up and we'll switch to the other side. Breathing here, we'll lift on the inhales and see if we can find a little space to twist on the exhale. Lifting the arms back up, we'll float them around and down. We'll bend both knees, bringing the soles of the feet together, coming into butterfly pose. Holding the ankles or the feet, sitting up nice and tall with our spine long, shoulders down and back, knees open as much as is comfortable for you. And we'll just press forward with the back as long as possible. And there's no straining or pushing ourselves here. We're just allowing the upper body to move forward and the hips to open into that space. Breathing here in and out. Seeing if we can let go a little bit more with every exhale. And then finally relaxing over, folding forward, letting the head drop a little bit. And just releasing any tension from the pose. And remembering that if your breath does get a little short, you can always just ease back a little bit. And we'll walk our hands back in now and straighten, rolling up through the spine. Great job. From here, we'll bring our knees in, assist them with the hands. Shake out the legs, shake out the knees a little bit. We'll grab our blocks, if we have them. Place them on either side of the feet. For me, I like this because it helps me to keep my legs parallel, because my hips tend to rotate open. And our shoulders are going to stay square over our legs. We can bend the knees if that's helpful. And we'll just start to fold forward, trying to keep the back as long as possible, keeping the spine lengthened, using the blocks to assist so we don't have to go quite as deep as we might feel obligated to if we are grabbing the feet or the ankles. Holding that lengthened spine, breathing in and out. And again, bend through the knees if it feels more comfortable and you get more length in that lower back. You'll eventually work your way to straightening the legs. And from here we can now rest and relax forward, letting the back round and letting the head just hang gently. And feeling how that shifts the stretch. Again, we're not pressing or pushing ourselves into any position. We all work at our own pace with our own body structure. We'll bring the hands beside the legs, pressing into the mat and rolling up through the spine very slowly and carefully. Beautiful job. Taking the blocks to the side, I'm going to face you. So you can see how my legs are set up. I'm going to bring one heel close to the glute and bring the other knee on top of that one for either a cow face pose or shoelace pose. So we want both sit bones on the mat, and you may want to sit on a cushion or a block to lift yourself up if this pose is a little bit challenging to get into. And we're breathing, we're lifting up through our spine, and it might just be enough to sit here if you have the space. You can reach to the side and keeping that sit bone down and grounded and planted, lift up through the center of the body, placing the hand either on the hip, behind the back, and just focusing on keeping that chest open and the shoulders back. That can be pretty difficult in this position because we're naturally inclined to round into the lean and the stretch. You can release that hand down that was behind the back or on the hip and roll back up. From here, the bottom leg will stretch out forward while we keep the top leg crossed. And this is a pretty intense hamstring stretch. So we're going to lift through the upper body and see if we can press forward. I'll show you from a side angle here how that looks. Lifting and just leaning forward a little bit. You might not have the space in the hamstring and lower back to lean forward, and that's fine. Just sitting up nice and tall is enough for a stretch. And again, we're just going to that edge of awareness, not to the point of pain or discomfort, just aware. Lifting through the lower back, and then we can start to round through the upper back, but we don't want to allow the body to pull back in order to do that. We want to maintain the length in the lower back, and if we're leaning forward, that is going forward, not backward. And we'll roll that back up, uncross the top leg, and shake the legs out. That's a pretty tough stretch, so very good job there. You might even want to rotate the hips in and out, open and close. We'll get that on the other side, so I'm facing you again so you can see. You're going to take the other foot toward the other glute or hip, and the other knee is going to stack on top. Both sit bones pressing down into the ground, and if that's too hard, grab the pillow, grab the bolster, grab the blanket you can use, or the block. All of the above to help you feel more comfortable. And then we're going to reach to the side to whatever degree is most comfortable for you and accessible. Keeping both sit bones down, opening through the chest and shoulders. You can just let that hand rest on the hip, or you can take it behind the back. head can look up here, or it can look down toward the hand, or just straight out in front of you, whatever is most comfortable. Breathing in and out, and releasing the hand that was on the hip or the back, and coming back up to neutral. Terrific. We'll get that hamstring stretch once again, so straightening out the bottom leg and leaving the upper leg crossed over top of it. And again, you might be more flexible on one side than the other. So just being aware of that and not pressing too deeply beyond what the body's comfortable with. As I shift over to the side to show you the side angle, you'll just lift up nice and tall and maybe just leave it there. Or if you have a little space to move forward in the pose, moving from the space of the lower back and hip and not from the upper body. We're not trying to round just yet, trying to feel into that lengthening in the lower back space and hips. And of course, we feel this strongly through the back of the leg, the hamstring area. And then we'll keep that lower back lengthened and allow the upper body to round, only going forward, not leaning back into the lower back. And if that's a little bit too challenging, because it does stretch all through the leg, the buttocks, the back, the spine, the upper back, and the neck, you can just stay upright. You can just stay with a long lengthened spine, and that's fine. And we'll roll that back up slowly, uncross the leg, stretch them out, and shake through the legs. And really just doing any kind of motion that helps you feel good here. Just a release. Sometimes I just like to rub my legs. And then we'll take a windshield wiper. So just bringing the feet to the outer edges of the mat and dropping the knees from one side to the other. Nice little hip release moment here. You can do this slowly, just letting the knees go from side to side. And then we'll come back to center when you feel good with your hips, and we'll get up onto all fours, tabletop pose. From tabletop, we'll come back, sitting on our heels, and then sitting up onto our knees. You might want a block or two here, depending on your flexibility level. We'll take one foot out to the side, lined up with the knee, and then the other foot comes underneath the hips for a nice inner thigh groin stretch in prayer position. Now, if you want, you can put a block underneath the hips, underneath the glutes, on any level. That block can be whatever is most supportive for you and makes you feel good in this stretch. For me, I'm going to sit on my heel and focus on lengthening through my spine. Breathing here. we'll place our hands onto our thighs to assist us in lifting back up and coming back to stand on our knees and into tabletop pose, just lengthening through the spine, and you can do any little hip motions here. And we'll sit back into thunderbolt pose, hips to the heels, spine nice and long, and come back into standing on our knees for the other side. So again, we can use the block to sit on as we settle down into the groin and inner thigh stretch, or you can bring that heel a little bit more underneath you and ease yourself down very gently into the pose, into prayer position with the arms. And use that elbow just a little bit to keep that knee open that's lifted. Breathing in and out. And then again, we'll place the hands on the thighs, lift up, and support our bodies as we come back to standing on our knees and then into tabletop position. And you can place your blocks on either side of the front part of the mat. We're going to come into a low lunge, knee lined up with the ankle and the blocks on either side of that front foot. If you don't have blocks, you can, of course, just place your hands on the mat. You don't need blocks here. It just gives a little bit of lift so you can lengthen through the spine and open the chest, and then drop a little bit deeper into the hips. As always, breathing in and out here. If it ever feels like too much, you can just ease the hips up and back and take a break, or you can always come into child pose. And we'll lift up the hips, pressing them back. But now we're going to move that front foot over to come into pigeon or swan pose. So that knee will come behind the same wrist and we'll reach the other leg back behind us and just settling into this position first, lifting up in the upper body as the lower body settles down. I personally like a block or a cushion, usually underneath my hips and also underneath my head for resting. This will be a slightly longer hold in sleeping swan. So just resting the upper body forward, using a block to support the head if it's comfortable. And as you release more into this pose, you might want to move the block or change the block's position, and that's perfectly fine. You also don't need a block. You can just allow the head to hang a little bit, or you can reach the hands and arms out and just let the head rest on the floor if you have that flexibility level. Or you can also support with the hands and leave the upper body lifted more. It's totally up to you and what feels most comfortable in your body. And again, if it ever becomes too much or the stretch is too long, too deep, you can always come back to child pose. Slowly, we'll lift the head up and press the hands into the mat, starting to come out of the pose. And gently lift the hips up and bring the legs back into all fours, tabletop, and just rotate the hips around a little bit, maybe move them side to side, and maybe even want to stretch that leg that was bent back behind you and just get a good stretch through the hips and the legs. And we'll get that on the other side. So bringing the blocks back into alignment on either side, we'll take the low lunge with the other foot in front. Place the blocks on either side or just use the hands on the mat and let the hips sink toward the ground while the upper body stays lifted, chest open, spine long. Slowly, we'll lift the hips back and we'll bring that foot over to the side, bending that front knee and coming into pigeon on the other side, sleeping swan. Knee goes behind the wrist and the back leg stretches back behind. We lift up through the shoulders and upper body to settle in. And now is a perfect time to use a block underneath the hips or a cushion or a blanket, and any kind of cushion, block, blanket in front of you to just rest on as you stretch. Breathing here, again, it's so common for one side to be more flexible than the other. And just acknowledge that that is your body and that's okay. Support your body on whichever side needs a little bit more support. And just accept where it's at. As you breathe and continue to stretch, these stretches will open up a little bit more each time. And slowly we'll lift the head up and start to support our body, lifting back up with the hands, removing any blocks that we had supporting us. We'll lift up and back with the hips. And again, getting some nice hip circles or stretching through the leg that was bent. Whatever feels good to your body to release the stretch. Slowly we'll ease back, sitting onto our heels and thunderbolt once again. You did wonderful. That is a tough stretch. And so now we'll take a restorative pose. So bringing the bolster or cushion, if you have it, out in front of you. We'll begin to come into a supported child pose with wide knees, knees being as wide as you're comfortable with, toes together, heels apart, and we bring the bolster in between the legs. You want to keep your seat as close to the heels as possible. If you need a cushion or blanket between the hips and the heels, that's fine. Otherwise, we're going to reach the upper body out onto the bolster and just relax here. The head turns to one side, and I will let you know when it's time to turn to the other side. Slowly we'll lift the head up and shift to the other side. Just breathing, really relaxing the hips, breathing into the lower back, the pelvis. Slowly, we'll begin to bring the hands to the sides of the bolster and press into the mat, lifting the upper body off the bolster, rolling up slowly and gently, shifting the body. We can now take the bolster to the side and bring the legs around and in front of us. From here, we'll make sure that our bolster is on one side in alignment with our hips, and we'll ease ourselves onto our backs, stretching the legs out. It feels very nice in the hips to get those legs stretched out. We can hug in one knee. And then gently we'll take that knee over to the bolster for a nice twist. Supported twist. Both shoulders staying on the mat. So if you have your right knee on your bolster, your right arm is reaching out to the right while the knee is going to the left onto the bolster. Twisting poses are great for digestion and just really wringing out the inner organs. A lot of cleansing, detoxification. And breathing here. If you need any extra support, you can always add a blanket or a cushion on top of the bolster, even a block. Slowly, we'll start to bring the knee back into the chest and resting on the back. And we'll open that knee out to the armpit side in an open position. And then bring it back to center and ease it down. We could then take the bolster to the other side of the body and get ready to bring in the other knee, hugging that knee into the chest. Stretching the other leg out flat on the mat. The bent knee will reach over onto the bolster for a twist. So if it's your left knee this time, the left arm will reach out to the left side, and both shoulders will stay on the mat as we twist the knee to the opposite side. Slowly we'll assist that knee back up as we roll back onto our backs and hug that knee in. We'll open it up toward the armpit just a little bit and then bring it back to center, easing it back down onto the mat. We'll bend both knees in and hug both knees into the chest for a wind release pose. And you can rock this from side to side if that feels good for you. Then we'll release the feet down onto the mat, turn onto our right side and press up into a seated position where we'll take our bolster behind us. And when I come into one of these supported poses, I always like about a hand's distance between my tailbone and the bolster. So I make sure I'm supporting my thoracic spine, my rib cage, and this is a supported butterfly pose, supported reclined butterfly pose. We can leave our arms open to the sides or take them above the head and hold the elbows. Whatever's most comfortable to you. Soles of the feet together, the knees can be supported with blankets, cushions, or blocks. Just finding your comfort zone in the stretch, breathing here. And if you notice that your neck is arching, you can always lift the head slightly, tuck the chin, and place the head back down to lengthen through the neck. Sometimes we don't even realize that the neck is coming into a tense position until we just lengthen it out and relax it down. Slowly, we can take our arms to either side of the bolster, pressing into the mat. And we can either take our chin to our chest and roll up here, or bring our knees together and turn to one side. Coming up into a seated position, we'll enter into Shavasana. Corpse pose, our final relaxation for today's practice. And you can come into whatever is the most comfortable pose for you in Shavasana. I usually like to support my knees and my legs, but you don't need to. You can just lay flat on the mat. Whatever's most comfy for you, finding the most relaxation in your body and just resting here. Sending the awareness through the body for any areas of tension and breathing into those areas and relaxing deeper on every exhale. I'll let you rest here and I'll let you know when it's time to return. As we come back to our bodies, we'll start to feel any points of contact with the floor. We can feel any air moving along our skin, the feeling of clothing against our skin. Starting to move the fingers, the hands, the toes, the feet. Maybe lengthening through the arms, reaching up above and reaching out through the legs. And if you're using a bolster, just pressing it out of your way with the feet so that you can turn onto your right side. And just linger there a moment if you like. Then we'll press up slowly into a seated position. Eyes closed, whatever is the most comfortable seated position for you. I usually come into Sukhasana. Just keeping the eyes closed and feeling the energy now, how it's shifted, even just from the laying position coming back up to seated. We'll bring our hands together in Anjali Mudra at the heart center, tuning in, taking our gaze down toward the floor, blinking the eyes open softly, lifting our gaze back up and seeing the world around us once again. Thank you so much for your practice. It's been my pleasure, and I hope to see you again soon. You can check out any other videos on my channel, and always let me know if there are any specific stretches that you'd like to see in the future. Much love, much peace. Namaste.